This is Gippsland FM, your community connection. A beautiful day out there today. The weather is absolutely spectacular, although there is a bit of rain coming, so we've got a bit of everything here. This is Victoria, of course. We have all the seasons in one day. And tomorrow, a little bit cooler, 20 degrees, so it's going to be nice. If you've got washing to do, make sure you get it in before the rain comes, otherwise you'll be washing it again. This is Business, Wealth and Mental Health, the program that explores how wise financial management, thriving businesses and peaceful relationships are good for your mental health. And today on this show, I've got the wonderful, the amazing David Robinson, who is the founder of Blue Rock Health and Fitness. David, pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Damien.
Fantastic. And tell us let's go back in the Wayback Machine. We were having a bit of a discussion beforehand, and you're a young guy, compared to me anyway.
Well, youngish.
Let's jump in that Wayback Machine, that awesome car, that silver DeLorean that I think we all covet and want one of those. Was it the gull-wing doors that worked for you? What was it about the DeLorean?
Oh, just time travel.
Time travel.
Yeah. Changing past mistakes.
Well, let's jump into that and hit 88 miles an hour and talk about, you take us back to, you said things you could change. What was, where did you start? What was the driver? What led to where you are now? I know you had to turn sideways to get into the door for those watching. He's a pretty big guy.
I think, look, I've always been into fitness and health, exercise since a very young age. I played soccer when I was 15. I've been training with weights since I was 17. I'm now 39. I came here, I guess, by mistake. So I did a lot of other jobs, when I got out of school. I've worked in hospitality. I've worked in sales. I've worked labouring, manufacturing. I've done purchasing. I've done maintenance scheduling. So I've done a lot of different jobs, and I found that I was never really truly happy in any of those industries. I'd do it for a period of time. I'd get sick of it. I'd move on, and really I was just chasing money. Always wanted more money, and I got to a point in my life just after COVID where I was in a good role, earning good money, had good job flexibility, but I still wasn't happy. And with things that were happening in my personal life, it got to the point where I was like, this isn't sustainable. Like I'm getting to the point where no matter how much I earn, no matter where I go, I'm still not happy with what I'm doing. So I decided to have a crack, and I decided to do something that I'm passionate about. And I put time, effort, and energy into it. It didn't work at the start. Nothing does. So I found that, I went back to the drawing board, and I'm like, I thought that, fitness was for me. I could really feel it in my bones, and it wasn't at the time. So it was the environment. So the environment that I was in, it wasn't positive. It wasn't what I thought it would be. So I stepped away from it. I trained at another gym, and then, people I think people are funny. They have a knack for finding out, that you're passionate about whatever it is that you do. It doesn't have to be just fitness. It can be anything. And people bring that out in you. And then before I knew it, I was like, shit, I'm back into training. People, they want to, they want to learn from me. They want to work with me. So I got back into personal training, and the journey started off again. So I had another crack at it.
How did you know that was your passion? Because a lot of people, we fall into what we're told to do, what is expected of us. And I know that I've got a lot of friends in high corporate jobs, and when we have a bit of a conversation privately, when they start opening up a little bit, they've usually had a couple to drink.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, if I could do it again, I'd do it differently. It's not what I love. But how did you know this was what you were passionate about?
Because fitness and health it's everything for me. So when I start my day, the first thing that I'm thinking of when I wake up is food.
Yeah.
Now, I think of food as a tool. I think
Chocolate?
No, not at all. I think of, people will be like, oh, yeah, Dave, we've heard this one before. I think of 2 long blacks, honey, 2 pieces of sourdough, lots of full-fat organic butter, and banana spread all over it. And that's what gives me enough to get through my gym.
Spread?
Yeah, banana, like crushed and
mash it up.
spread, and maybe a bit of chia seeds if I feel like it.
Yeah.
And that's my pre-workout. So I have that every single day.
Yeah.
I don't get sick of it. I have that 40 minutes before I train, and that's my first thought. Apart from getting, the missus coffee, that's the second thought.
Good to know. But is that again? So was that always the case? I mean, Because this is what I want to try and find for people that struggle with finding their passion.
Honestly, I think it just got to the point where I couldn't keep doing what I was doing work wise. It wasn't sustainable. It didn't marry up with my personal ambitions. There was always a header. So the reason I got into it was because I'm passionate about fitness. I'm passionate about health.
Yeah.
And for me, my idea of going to work was, look, I'm not working now. I'm not on the clock. I'm not 9 to 5. I'm not earning X amount. When I wake up every day, it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. I help people get results. I love working with people, and if I can do that and it doesn't feel like work and I get paid, well for doing that job, it's win-win. I get home at the end of the day and I don't go, oh, this happened at work and the boss was, getting on to me about this. I don't feel like that. So every day when I wake up, even if I'm tired, even if I'm run down, I'm like, hey, I get to work with Chris today, or hey, I get to work with Brittany or Tiana, and these people, that pop up. They're what that like they give me energy because they want to achieve goals, fitness goals, personal goals, and you bounce off each other. And I think like when people are giving energy and receiving energy, and it's positive energy, it just sets you on the right path.
Let's go back a little bit, because if I heard you correctly, I mean, it sounds all fantastic now, but if I heard you correctly, that wasn't the case when you first started doing fitness. So what was the difference?
Environment.
Yeah.
Environment. So I think a lot of industries, it comes down to the environment. I mean, you could work a dozen different jobs. At the end of the day, if you're working in an environment that's perhaps not suited for you, if it's negative, if it's toxic, if it's not what you thought it would be, it's going to impact any work that you're doing, regardless of what you're doing. For me, it took me a couple of cracks to find the right environment, and I did. I ended up having some events that were, I mean, they weren't, I would say they weren't negative, but they were impacting my business. So I had to make some decisions. One of the decisions were, I have to move gyms. That's not my choice. The gym got taken over by a different owner, and my interests and I didn't align with the people that were going to take over the gym. So it forced my hand, and it basically, it was coming to the point where it was, do I go down, do I open my own gym, do I take a real big financial risk, or do I keep seeing what other options are out there? And it came by chance. One of the ladies that I train, Brittany, she started training at me with a gym in Moe, and she basically told me about a gym, Area 365 in Morwell, and I never heard of it. I'm not really big on social media. I'm quite isolated, even in my industry, even though there's a lot of networking and everybody talks, everybody knows everything. I didn't know anything about it, and so the wheels started turning, and I went and I had a chat with the bosses out there, Anna and Chris, and they were great. What they were promising sounded fantastic. So I gave it a crack, and 11 months later, here I am, and it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I wasn't comfortable at the time, but it was a really positive experience, and they've been great to work for.
I really want to get to that point, because a lot of people, they're passionate, or they feel they're passionate about something, they'll start, and like you just experienced or described that experience of how it wasn't what you thought it was. And I'm taking it, and correct me if I'm reading into this incorrectly, but you started, you were passionate about personal training, and then you're in an environment that wasn't conducive to that, which you didn't feel good, if I'm reading correctly, which then you didn't feel good about your passion.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How did you, and this is where I want to get for the listeners to understand this happens, and how do you move through that and maintain that this is your passion?
I think, like anything else, I've learned from my mistakes or someone else's. And I made mistakes, but with this one, I followed my heart, Damien. And I know it sounds cheesy and, it sounds a bit corny, but I really listened to my heart. And I spoke to a lot of people that were around me at the time. If I'm not sure about things in my life, I'll speak to friends, people that are older than me, people that are wiser than me, and I'll weigh up all the options, and I'll, and then if majority sort of rules, even if I disagree with them, I'll go with the majority, because I'll listen to people. So for me, it got to the point where I was passionate about aspects of the industry, and it just, it just came to me like maybe that just wasn't the gym for you to work at, David. Maybe the way that they run their business doesn't align with your beliefs on how you want to run things. What about if you find a business that does? And I think for me, it was about finding, that marriage where the people, they were passionate about the industry. And there's a lot of sales in fitness. There's a lot of people will tell you anything to get your money. At the end of the day, they will tell you anything to get your money. They don't care if you get results. That wasn't me. I can't lie to people. I'm not. If someone said, "Oh, hey, Dave, 6 weeks, I want a 6-pack. I want 5% body fat," I'll be like, "Hey, man, like let's go now for next year." I'm really realistic with my training. I give people realistic goals, and achievable goals and sustainable goals. So I don't like lying to people. I don't. Why should I say to somebody, "Oh yeah, I'll get you these results. I'll give you something, that no one else will." Like if I can't help people, I'll be, flat out honest and say I don't think I can help you run a marathon because I've never run one myself.
So let's talk about that that aspect of you mentioned about talking to people, about getting information, and particularly for guys, there's a thing where we don't speak about things. Now you say you had a lot of people to talk to things about, but I just want to flesh that out a little bit, particularly from a guy perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I know from my side of things, I don't talk about things to a lot of people, but I have mentors, wiser people than me, that I will go to for advice, and I will run that by them, and give a shout out to my dad here because he listens to me a lot of times. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about, but he'll listen, but he will and help bounce things off. And so I just, from your take on things, how did you go about that? Was that something that you were always able to do? Because you sound like you were talking to people, or was it something you had to learn to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think depending on your personality and who you are as a person, I think these skills, some people will do this automatically. I had to learn how to do this. I opened up to people, and when you're young, you think that you know everything. You do.
Never been like
that. You were never cocky and full of yourself. That didn't happen.
Never.
That didn't happen at all. I think as you get older, and I'm 39 now, I think you tone down, your testosterone starts leaking out, and you start looking at things differently. And I think for me, as I got older, I started realizing that, hey, Dave, there's a lot of smarter people than you around you. And if you want to advance in life, if you want to succeed at things, you better start listening to people that have clearly done that for themselves and are in a further along position in life than you are. And for me, I listen to like my cousin Michael. He's retired now. He's very intelligent, very successful. He's run his own businesses. He's happily retired. I'll listen to my partner. She's very, very clever, a lot smarter than me. She handles the money at home. She handles all the decisions. I'm just the brawn. She's the brains. People like that. And, like I've spoken to counselors over time, like going through tough situations with, relationships, even like you said, mentors with business. My accountant, Dylan Behrens, like he's been fantastic with business. He's a personal friend. People like that. And, I listen to them. I don't cut them off. I ask them very simple, direct questions. I weigh up the response that I get, and I choose the path to get. And, I don't overcomplicate things. I might speak to 4 or 5 different parties from different areas. And, if the majority is saying, hey, Dave, I think that you should do this, and these are the reasons why, I'll listen to them. Even if I think that they might be wrong, I'm still willing to listen to them. And then something, maybe they're not wrong, or it didn't work out that way, but I'll still wear what happens. So I think it's important for people to reach out and be a sponge, absorb as much information from people as you can, because it's only going to better your situation. That's what I think.
There's so much there to unpack, and we could be here for the next 24 hours with all the mental notes that I've been taking while you were just saying that. But one thing I really want to unpack is
bottle is open. We can get some beers.
There's other shows. You mentioned listening, the L word, different L word. How hard is that? And we were jokingly saying about being cocky, and I'll own that. I was one hell of a cocky person when I was younger. And how do you distinguish that difference between having the confidence in yourself and actually being confident enough to listen to someone who might be smarter than you?
I've made a lot of mistakes. And a lot of the mistakes that I've made have been from listening to my own thoughts and my own advice and not taking others. Honestly, I think.
How do you know that that's the right advice? Because and is this
from people that you speak to?
So this is where I want to link this back to goal setting as well, being clear about where you're going. How important is it to have that clear direction as to where you're going, and then being able to weigh that advice up as to whether it's you? Because there's a lot of people that will give you good advice, but they may not know where you're going, so they think they're helping.
I try to get the picture across to them. So I speak about where I think my business is heading, even personal problems or personal issues. I try to explain in detail, what it is I'm trying to achieve or where I'm trying to head. I'm not sure how I get there. How do I get there? And I'll pass it on to people and then, see what they've got to say about it. And I guess I speak to people about the direction that I think that I'm heading, or, if you're talking about business, the direction that I want my business to go or what I'm trying to achieve, create. And I just bounce those ideas off people. And then if the people that I'm speaking to can relate to that topic, of experiences off their own back, I listen heavily. And, I think to myself, well, look, what they're saying makes sense. At the end of the day, if I'm speaking to someone they've got their own business, they've been running their own business now for 10 years, they started off in a similar sort of position as me, and now look at what they've achieved, and they're on to bigger and brighter things. I've got to take that on board. Surely, what they're saying has to have, an element of truth. And especially, I think when you're speaking to people that there's no gain. When you speak to certain family members, friends, or mentors, like a lot of the people I speak to, there's no personal gain for them. So when they give me advice, it doesn't. The only thing that they get out of it is that they want to see me achieve, and it's not to benefit them in any way, shape, or form. It's coming from a genuine, a genuine area.
How did you learn that humbleness, going from the cocky guy that you once were to actually then, because listening to you talk and the way you're describing that, you're now, rather than telling people how things are, you're asking questions and then having the humbleness to listen, if I'm correct, if I'm understanding, reading into what you're saying. Because if you watch a lot of conversations, you'll find that there'll be a lot of people talking a lot, telling you how it is, but very few people actually listen. How did you make that transition?
I guess it's just a maturity thing, honestly. Time passes and you learn how to communicate better with people. And
that's the question I'm asking, because there's some people, older people,
that are set in their ways, what is it? Old dogs can't learn new tricks.
I don't agree with the quote. But I get the point, and this is why I want to understand, what was it in you that enabled you to go, because you could have stayed that cocky person, as some people do, and then they, when they're 80, 90, still complaining about their life and how they're missing out on things. But you made a transition. You went to something different where you were able to go, okay, I'm going to listen now. What was that enabled you to do that?
That's a good question.
I have my moments.
That is a good question. Do you know what? I'll put it down to life-changing events. I'll put it down to big things happening. My mum passed away 3 years ago, and when she passed away, a lot of things changed in our family and in our dynamic of friends and everything. And I guess because a lot of things were sort of coming to the surface, and a lot of people had questions, I guess you learn to listen. So I think for me, a lot of things came my way that I didn't expect to be dealing with at that time. And it's no good if in a situation like that where other people have problems, or if they've got things that they need to deal with, I think I needed to step back and listen to other people's concerns, especially like with deceased estate and legal issues as well. Like there were a lot of things that came to the surface that you just don't know how to deal with, and there's no good me talking in that instance. The only thing that I could really do was listen to people that were older, wiser, might have more experience with things like that. So I think events like that throughout my life have made me realize, Dave, tone it down. You don't know everything. Shut up, listen, and let people talk, and then weigh up what's being said and respond, as opposed to just running your mouth and just talking for the sake of it. Like you actually need to listen to people, what they're saying, to get over a few issues. So I reckon, to answer your question, Damien, just time and events that happen in life that you don't expect.
Well, it seems to me that and time wasn't the factor. Listening to you talk, watching your body movements here, it seemed, and a lot of people talk about how they had to hit rock bottom before they turned around. Now, I don't know that you hit rock bottom, but it sounds like you had some stuff that were really, really emotionally stressful that put you way out of what you were used to. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I went through, it was funny, like I had my mum passed away, went through a really toxic separation with my ex-wife, issues with work. You know how they say things happen in three.
Yeah.
And my mum was the third instance. And, it was such an unexpected occurrence what happened with my mum. Like nobody saw it coming. It was just one of those health issues that pop out of the cupboard, and you're like, oh wow, didn't expect that. But at the time, and with my family, because we're originally from England, so we don't have a lot of family out here. When a lot of those issues were happening, I realised, I'm like, well, I'm now. My dad passed away when we're in 2001. So you sort of, I guess, sometimes you have to step up and go, well, I can't really look up to anyone here. I can look up to my cousin and lean on him for advice, but he's not there in person physically a lot of the time. So I guess you get to the point where you need to step up and.
Is that something there? I want to interrupt there because you mentioned your father passed away, and they say, and this is focusing on men again, that the boy doesn't really become a man until his father dies. Now, my dad's still alive, but there was an incident where it happened where my dad I became my own man, and we had a thing between us. Was that an experience for you, that you had that experience?
No. So I would have been 15 when my dad passed away.
No, that's what I'm getting at. Is that what you lost that mentor, so you had to stand up?
Well, I don't think I stood up. I wouldn't say I stood up back then. I think I went through the motions as any other kid when he was 15 would have, where, you're rebellious and all you care about is kicking a soccer ball around, not doing well at school. Like I still see my teachers. I live next to one of my teachers and I feel bad, for like all the grief that I used to give them. But
I can't imagine my teachers are thinking.
Oh man, and I see them around, and I saw Mrs. Baylor this morning, and just like, hey Kaz, how you going? And get in there and start lifting weights, and But I think I don't think after my dad passed, I don't think I became I didn't like step up and was the man of the house or anything like that. I think I started becoming more of a man when. Later on in life, when you keep getting hit over and over again, and you can fall into a heap, you can, let life get on top of you and let, the bad things in life destroy you. Or you can go, well, this happens around the world. It happens to everybody at some point in their life. Why am I so different to anyone else? And the answer to that is I'm not. So you can let things destroy you, or you can, you can try and cope with them and deal with them as best as you can. And I think a lot of these things that have popped up in life, like as bad as they've been, you learn to deal with it, because if you don't, first of all, it'll destroy you, and then that domino will like flow onto other people around you, family, friends, work. It's like a butterfly effect. It can be catastrophic, and I don't think you can let that happen. I just don't think you can.
So we've only got a little bit over a minute to go. What would be your key takeaway that you want people that are listening? What would you want them to take away from this episode? What would be your nugget of wisdom that you'd want to bring back to the future?
Oh, don't give up on your passions. Follow your heart. Listen to the people that are close around you, and follow your passion. If you've got an idea of something that you want to do in life, don't not have a crack. Have a crack at it. Give it a crack and see where it takes you. If you fail, pick yourself back up. Have another go. You might fail 3 times, 6 times, 2 years, 5 years, but if you keep at it, you'll get where you need to be.
Fantastic. Now, give us a plug for your business. How can people find out about you? Where do they connect with you?
Instagram, Google. I'm at Area 365. I've got a
David
website,
Robinson,
Dave Robinson, Blue Rock Fitness.
put that into Mr. Google.
Put that into Mr. Google. Yeah.
So Dave Robinson,
Come train with me.
Blue Rock Fitness, check it out. Awesome work. Thank you very much for opening up and sharing. I know there's some pretty deep things that you were just sharing. So
It's all good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome anytime.